welcome. A little bit later than normal, but I do apologise. I was watching the Lou Festival of Light here in Drogheda and having a fantastic time doing so. You're all very welcome to Live Irish Myths. This is episode number 249 tonight. We are back with Social History of Ancient Ireland. We're finishing off the section about the structure of society, and then we're going to be beginning the section on Brehon Laws, which I know a lot of you are excited about. Pardon me, I thought I silenced my phone just before we started, but apparently I did not. So there you go. It's now silenced. You're very welcome. We're starting at the slightly later time of 9 o'clock here in Ireland. That should be the same time as normal for our US and Canada viewers. That's because last weekend, just gone, we fell back, as it were. The clocks went back. So what was 8 o'clock would be 7 o'clock here. No, am I getting that wrong? I'm probably thinking about it too much. Well, of course, part of the reason I delayed it till 9 o'clock was so that we could go and see the Lou Festival, which is on every night for 7 or 8 nights. It's not like I haven't seen it already for the last 4 nights. But anyway, I hope you can forgive me. If you're here, whether you're on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, please do say hello in the comments. We'll say hello back. If you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, if you like what you see on Mythical Ireland, please do support Mythical Ireland. The best way to do that is to become a patron, and the very best level for patronage is the Bronze Age level. At the moment, Bronze Age patrons are getting my next book, 2 pages at a time. Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter was the first to say hello this evening. She's saying hello from Texas, where it is cold. Wow, 9 Celsius. That is, I have to say, the coldest temperature report we've had from Elaine since I don't know when. Certainly for months and months and months. But good afternoon to you, Elaine. Hope you're in good form. Adrian O'Beglin is in the house. Hello to you, Adrian. Conasata too. Teresa Collins is saying hello to everyone. Am I right about that now? I'm seriously doubting myself all of a sudden. Is it the same time in the States or not? That's what I was... In my head, like, we're 5 hours apart, right? We came back an hour. So if I delayed it an hour, it would still be the normal time for you guys. That was my rationalization. Joe Butler is in sunny and cold Colorado. The snowfall was amazing. Is melting fast. Yeah. Lexi Erickson has a report for us. Joe, take it easy, and thank you for sharing to the other pages. Laura Puente is actually early. Yes, a wizard is never early or late. Laura, you're very, very welcome to the stream. Lexi Erickson is in Denver, where there were 8 inches of snow, and it was minus 9 Celsius this morning. Oh my God. Yeah. That's cold. And so all of a sudden we're into wintertime here on Live Irish Myths, and all those nice sunny warm temperatures seem to be gone. And that happened very quickly in the space of like a couple of episodes. Tuesday Thompson is wishing us all a happy Mythology Monday, and the very same to you, of course, Tuesday. Thank you, Joe, for sharing. Brendan Byrne is in the house. Happy Halloween. Good afternoon to you. Good evening to you, Brendan. Yes, indeed. Halloween tomorrow and Samhain next week. It's that time of year, the beginning of winter officially. Wayne Bird. Hello, Anthony. Hope everyone is well. Better ask the missus to get the chair out for yourselves. 32,000 feels like a pilgrimage to Tara. Coming partial lunar eclipse and a full moon. It's an omen. A good one, I hope, Wayne. And great to see that you're enjoying those sharings on Patreon. Thank you for pointing that out today. Got a little bit behind it myself. Or Burgess22 caught you live again. Hello all. Hello to you. And thanks for joining us. Can't remember your name. Apologies for that. Snow will melt quickly. We need the moisture, says Lexi. Well, melting snow will give you that, won't it? Just depends on how quickly it runs runs off. Cody Fodor, pardon my terrible attempt to pronounce your name. Oh, good day. Just came in time. Happy Halloween. Brilliant stuff. Corey, you're very welcome to the stream. Rex Fortenberry is saying a big fall howdy to all the Tua. Ain't time change wonderful? Yes. And no, I like summer. And Scott Doherty is back in the States. Glad to be home, but missing my other home in County Clare. Ah, well, sure, look, you know, could be worse. At least you get the opportunity to come over here and enjoy it, you know. I know you want to spend the whole year here, don't you? Really? Sotanar says, "Sawan Honajiv Nadina Bra." Thank you very much, Sotanar August Tufain. Heather Marie Leaning is saying hello to myself and Tom King and the Tua. Hello to you, Heather. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you as always. Nicole, is it Vent? No, we had you before. Greetings from Hamburg in Germany. Nicole, you're very welcome. Great to see you. How do we say it? Is it Guten Abend? Is it perhaps? Maybe you might correct me on that. Samantha Healy says, "Good evening, Anthony, Tom King, and all the Tua." Good evening indeed. I haven't seen Tom yet, but I'm sure he's lurking somewhere. Lurking is a terrible word. Tom doesn't lurk. He has enormous presence. Tom is here. He's just here. Hello, good evening, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Happiest of Hallows Eve in New Hampshire, 70 miles to the Canadian border. That's Eileen Craig. Well, hello, Eileen, watching on YouTube. You're very welcome to Live Irish Myths. Great to see you. Amanda Morgan is in the house. Good evening to you, Amanda, or good afternoon. I don't know where you are. You're possibly in Ireland, but apologies. The lights were beautiful, says Samantha. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them. What a show. We didn't think they could beat last year. By God, they have. And the huge crowds. Crowds are way up too, which is fantastic. Northman is saying, hello, Anthony. Yes, got messages. Must reply. Sorry. Yes, Northman, who's very anxious to meet me. You just want the selfie, is that it? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I will get in touch with you. Samantha says the partial lunar eclipse was ethereal. Great photos. Yeah, it was only a really tiny portion of the moon that was covered. It was a little bit. I suppose we knew that's how it was going to be, but a little bit underwhelming in a bit. No, you started an hour late, and now it's only 5 hours difference for me instead of 6. See, now I'm confused. We found you anyway. You cannot escape us. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah, could you imagine me trying to escape you, you know? Samantha, I think the states change a week after us. Yep. According to Google, the states are going back an hour next weekend. No, it's 2 hours later than it was last week, says Elaine. Oh my God. I really screwed that up, didn't I? Anyway, there you go. Don't put me in charge of your mathematics class. Tom King has indeed joined us. Hello there, Anthony and the Mighty Two. I hope all in great fettle. Feet up for a while and the drama's topped up. To all 32,000 members, good health to each and all. Remarkable milestone. Congratulations, Anthony. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, flying. I mean, it was 30,000 a couple of weeks ago, and then it's 32. And not forgetting the 75,000 followers on the main Mythical Ireland page on Facebook. Brilliant to see. Is it Casper? Hello, Casper. I don't know how to pronounce your second name, but you're very welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Steve Martinson is saying it's 4:11 here in Wisconsin. Yeah, I miscalculated completely. I totally botched everything up. I apologize. I hope you can forgive me. Eileen says, I did the same coming back from Ireland. I did not want to leave. It's 40 degrees, raining last night, frost, snow, this eastern, no New Hampshire. Yeah, the only thing about Irish winter is we don't generally get that sort of 3 feet of snow that a lot of you guys get, especially in the northern states and in Canada. We touch wood, we largely avoid it actually. Pat is saying, greetings from Vermont. Good afternoon to you, Pat. You're very welcome to the stream. Great to see you there. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. Hot in Australia, says Amanda, and bushfire season. So you're not in Ireland. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How different it is from place to place. Short days here now, long nights, coolish, dampish weather, bit drab, you know. Definitely time for re-raw August Rulya Bulya and time for a bit of crack around the fire. Bit of fun, bit of music, a few stories. Conas Tatu says, rock and rap records. Well, I'm fine. How are you? Great to see you. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on this stream. At least the actual day of Samhain. In a technical, yeah, I suppose I calculate Samhain by the old astronomical cross-quarter day, which is on the 5th, I think, this year. Yeah, if you had your Mythical Ireland calendars, you would know. Just saying. Let me just check my Mythical Ireland calendar. On the wall. It was on the wall until I dropped it. Oh, Samhain is the 7th. 7th. Tuesday, the 7th of November this year, folks. Yep. 7th. So we're more than a week away from Samhain just yet, from the point of view of the old astronomical cross-quarter day, that is. Caitlin Moon is in the house. Wish me luck. I'm submitting my PhD tomorrow. Good luck with that, Caitlin. Really sorry that I wasn't able to help you as much as I thought I would be. Wish you all the best. Don't think you'll need it, to be honest. From what I did read of it, I thought it was very good. You're well in command of your subject. I think any of the comments that you were talking about were probably very, very minor things. And the best of luck with it. Go get them, and you will, absolutely. And as you said yourself, it's a subject to which you probably be returning. And look forward to that. Maybe a book down the line. Who knows? Anne McCallum is in the house. Hope everyone's doing well. A chilly, cloudy day today. Was 1 Celsius, but now reached our high of 7. Heading down into the minus column during the night. But the fall colours are gorgeous. All shades of red, orange, yellow and brown. Thick carpet of leaves already covering the ground. Now ready for Monday story time. Yes. Yeah, and I hope... so apparently you are 2 hours later than normal. And I, for some reason in my head, I thought things would work out, but they didn't. Don't put me in charge. If you ever run a complex event, don't put me in charge of your timings. Irish technical thinker, who is Marcus, is glad to be here this week. Missed a few live streams due to family events, but all is good. Brilliant stuff, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to see you in the library, of course. Porrick Byrne is saying hello from Porrick and Oscar in Mount Mellick in County Laois. Hello, Porrick, and hello, Oscar. A wave each. Oscar is celebrating his 10th birthday today. Well, happy birthday to you. A Halloween baby. Well, kind of. A Halloween Eve. Wow. That's a special time. Well, Oscar, happy birthday. Double figures now, huh? Growing up fast. Northman, just to say, if you're in Cork, I'm in Clonakilty next Sunday. Myself and Moncon McGann are doing a live podcast conversation. It's live in front of a live audience, and it's also being recorded. So if you're able to get over to Clonakilty at some stage Sunday evening, I think that's on at 2:00 on Sunday. That might save you a trip all the way up to Drogheda. Barbara Murphy saying, hi all, Arizona doesn't change times. Arizona just is as it is. How dare anybody ever suggest that Arizona should change anything? Isn't that right, Barbara? Good afternoon to you. And lots of people saying happy birthday to Oscar, which is brilliant. I believe 4th of November will be snow at Nouth. That's my dream. Yeah. It's nice when it's kind of got snow on the landscape, you know. Chris Haney Lang is in the house from Phoenix, where I'm currently working. Well, obviously you're not. If you're watching a live stream, you're dossing. No, I'm joking. You're skiving. Great to see you, Chris. And don't work too hard, you know. Definitely. And Kiernan is in Bolivia. Wow. Heading into the Day of the Dead here. Some very mythical practices, I can imagine. And what a pleasure to see you. I think that's got to be the first time we've ever had a viewer of Live Irish Myths watching from Bolivia. Certainly one that announced their presence. And I hope you're having a great time there in Bolivia and enjoy it. I'm good. Rock and Rap Records. My name's Drolene. I'm from Michigan. Love your research. Well, thank you very much. Drolene being a wren, if I'm not mistaken. Chris says, my calendar is on the way. Don't forget, of course, you must order your 2024 calendar. Order it now so that you'll have it before the year changes. I know Christmas is and the New Year seems like a long way away. It's less than 2 months now. Don't forget to order your 2024 Mythical Ireland calendar. And on the Mythical Ireland website, I will share the link as I as I always do. And yeah, and don't forget to get some for your friends. Very important. Lots of people saying happy birthday to Oscar, which is brilliant. Oscar, you're going to have a nice... this is the lovely way to spend your birthday. Casper is saying you are a modern druid, Anthony. Amazing knowledge. Look, not really. I'm sorry, but I'm not actually a walking encyclopedia. I I read a lot. That's all, And in fact, there are people who are kind of more closely connected with sort of what you call vernacular mythology or folklore. But anyway, thank you very much. Did I understand it correctly? Kilkenny? No, Clonakilty in Cork. Clonakilty, the town of Clonakilty in County Cork. Clochnacoilche. Yeah, my grandparents would consider Halloween the festival of the dead here in Ireland. The dead or the ever living? The dead, not really dead, kind of, because they come out on Halloween, He's more like a fella, says Caitlin. Right, you're embarrassing me now. I think I'm going to get reading. Anyway, don't forget, order your calendar. You want one. You really, really want one. You really want one. No, in fact, you want 2 or 3. You want them for presents. When you get one, you'll go, oh, this would make such a lovely gift for mom for Christmas. Or this would make a lovely gift for my best friend. Or this would make a lovely gift for my school teacher or whoever. Do you know what I mean? I have loads of them. Don't worry. I won't run out. Northman, you are not understanding. Let me type it out. Okay. Northman, I will be in Clonakilty in County Cork this Sunday, which is, what did I say, the 5th, isn't it? 5th of November. Anthony is hypnotizing us by calendar. Yeah, it was kind of subtle, wasn't it? Not really subtle, says you. By the way, new spectacles. Myself and Dan both had our eyes tested last week, and we both needed slightly stronger. What do they call it? Prescriptions, isn't it? I have some, I think he called it astigmatism. So my near eyesight has deteriorated a little bit since the last time I got glasses, which was in 2017. You really shouldn't wait 6 years between eye tests. You're supposed to get them done every 2 years. But I'm at the point where I can't read small text. I'm holding jam jars at an arm's length to read the ingredients, that sort of thing. Something I've never had to do before. So my far distance eyesight is perfect. Apparently my right eye in particular has 20/20 vision for far sight, but it's everything within a couple of feet, My brain froze on this place, says Northman. I think, yeah, yes. You're definitely, it's Clonakilty, definitely. So if you are in Cork, it's a much handier for you to get to Clonakilty than it is to Drogheda. But I'm okay. I will give you one thing, Northman. You are persistent. But that's okay. The calendars make great bribes too. Don't forget, Caitlin, stuff a few into the hands with the PhD tomorrow. Oh yeah, here's my PhD, and this has got no connection whatsoever with any attempt to make you, I know you won't need it. You won't need it. Anyway, let's get going. It is 26 minutes past 9 here, and I'm conscious of the fact that I started late, and I'm conscious of the fact that some of you were able to hang around for a couple of hours because I thought it would start at your normal time, but it didn't. Funny, but not funny. Non-noble freemen without property. So we were talking about the 5 classes, weren't we, last week? The 5 main classes of people. And if you ever thought that like a class society originated in other countries such as Britain, and look disdainfully, well, hang on a second, folks. It was the same here if you go back far enough, Miriam is in the house listening while working. Well, don't let me distract you too much. I hope you get plenty of work done. Well, just don't get in trouble. That's the main thing. But as I said, somebody else said they were working. I said they were dossing. But anyway, tea is in the house. Tea all round. Can I have a peppermint infusion, please? Thank you. Michael Trott, good morning. He's saying, hello from a damp Auckland, New Zealand. It's Samhain or Halloween. May you see clearly during the veil time. Time is relative. Hello, all the tua. Hello, Michael. A very good morning to you from the northern and western hemisphere. We're still in Monday. The next class, the fourth, the freemen with little or with no property, were céiles or free tenants. They differed from the beaux arras not only sorry, I'll put the words in the right order actually. From the beaux arras only in not being rich enough to rank as arras or chiefs. For the beaux arras were themselves céiles or rent payers. And accordingly, a man of the fourth class could become a beaux arras if he accumulated property enough, the amount being laid down in the Brehon Law. And we're going to be going on to the Brehon Law. Martina Drolin Linsky is in the house. Hello to you, Martina. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us, of course. Ulla Conrad is in Denmark. Must be late there. Very sorry for the late start, but Ulla, you're so welcome. Weed stem tea, says T. I'll give that a try. Why not? Yes, New Zealand is almost on the exact polar opposite. Yes, the antipodes, as I call them, antipodes. How do you pronounce that? Is it antipodes or antipodes? I would say antipode. Are near, is it Kermadec Island? Antipodes of Ireland are. Let me just tell you exactly where the antipode is. Or if you want to be really fancy about it, antipodes. Sound like you know something when you really don't. Okay. Yep, it's south of New Zealand, and it is. It's not telling me, of course. What's the name of that big island south of New Zealand? I have to use Google. Oh, now look, we're already in a rabbit hole. I've only read a couple of sentences. Sotonar, what are you making me do? And actually, it isn't a big island. It's just an area. But it is, I think, is it Kermadec or is it? We'll find out, says you. We'll find out. The antipodes. Yeah. What island? What is the name of that island? Come on, show me the places. Campbell Island. Wow. Campbell Island, apparently. Okay, I'm going to have to shut down Google Earth because my computer's slowing down. Stewart Island, says Michael. Stewart, is it? It said Campbell. But you could be right. Caitlin Moon says Australia. No, it's not Australia. Australia. No, Australia is kind of no. It's further. It's further actually into the Pacific, into the southeast of New Zealand. So it's further away from Australia. Sorry for New Zealand losing the rugby final. It was a privilege to witness the haka, says Irish. Do you know what the big boast here is? The Irish rugby team bet the World Cup winners before they won. The irony. Kermadec, yeah, Michael is saying, yeah. Antipodes. Is that how you pronounce it, is it? This is ridiculous. I'm not you guys. I'm saying I am ridiculous. I've only literally read about 3 sentences and already I'm down a deep rabbit hole. Antipodes, yeah. So it's not the antipodes. 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 Say it with me. Antipodes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. That's like when you're leaving an Italian restaurant and you say to the staff, you want to Antipodes staff. Never mind, that was terrible. I was just about to say, may I consider this a rabbit hole? 1 and counting. Yes. What was I saying? And accordingly, a man of the 4th class could become a beaux arras if he accumulated property. Yes. These céiles, or tenants, or free rent payers, corresponding with the Old English ceorls or churls, formed the great body of the farming class. They were called Aithech, Aithech, i.e. plebeian, farmer, peasant, to distinguish them from the Aras or chieftain grades. Doesn't sound like they're very important people in the whole class structure, does it? And the term Féini or Féine, which means much the same as Áthach, Áthach, Aithech, Áthach, Áthach, Áthach. No, it's not Áthach, it's Áthach, was also applied to them. Some few members of the Féine were selected by the king to look after the affairs of their immediate district, or what we should now call a townland. Yeah, so the Normans, I think, introduced townlands, but the townlands were based on the old Féine. Well, the Féine were the ones who looked after the area. Sorry, I may be missing some comments. The fact that the audio glitched for all of those. Antipodes, antipodes. Up the ante, stay off the Chianti. Michael, don't apologize. Absolutely not your fault. I just get so easily distracted. I think I have ADHD. I'm almost sure I have. Ola Conrad, we had a cream brand in the health store I was working in that was called Antipodes or Antipodes. Only the sellers from the company could pronounce it. Yeah. Oh, so I have I hit rabbit hole number 2. If Brendan is counting, this is definitely number 2. I have a book that is called Return to Segish. Almost everybody who's ever mentioned it to me has been unable to pronounce it. In fact, what most people do is they politely go, "Oh yes, I read a copy of your book, Return to," and they start to pronounce it, obviously politely hoping that I will, tell them how it's pronounced, so that they can listen and then they can say, "Oh yes, Segish, of course, yes." Probably the funniest pronunciation I've had of it so far was a friend who said "Return to Segay." I think he thought it was French. Some people say Sagas. Some people say Sagais. But it's Irish. It's an Irish name, so it is naturally like if you try to pronounce Siobhan and you're not familiar with Irish pronunciation, you'll say Siobhan, as Lee Mack says. So I completely understand. So one of the reasons, big rabbit hole here, one of the reasons the Shawshank Redemption was not successful in the box office, apart from the fact there were several other really good hit movies in the cinema at the time, in the theaters, which included Forrest Gump, I think, and a couple of others. It was the fact that the name was weird. People couldn't identify. They saw this Shawshank and they thought it was some sort of weird, alternative movie of some sorts. Yeah. So, Return to Segish. Yeah. I know exactly how you feel. I call it Return to Sega Mega Drive. More rabbit holes than territory so far, says Sutton. I do apologize. That book looks so good. Well, yes. Please feel free to order one off the website. I'll send you a signed copy. A long time no see, says Anna Liffey. Yes, indeed. You're very welcome, Anna Liffey. Always a pleasure. We were just talking to Segish, which of course is the birthplace of the Boyne, if you follow the mythology. So Return to Segish signed copy is available at the link that's just being shared there now. Okay. Ola says, I would have thought it was French too. There you go. Yeah, Return to Segay. No, Return to Segish. Perhaps I should put a pronunciation guide on the cover. These Féine, says the gloss on the law, are brewy farmers and the stewards of kings. These are evidently the officers referred to in the record about Olaf Fola, King of Ireland. And he appointed a chief over every trichachage and a brewy over every balya or townland. By the way, the steward of the king. I mean, are we seeing Tolkien in here, by the way? These brewy stewards or Féine stewards continue to be appointed and to exercise their functions down to a late time, the time of the glossator of the laws, but the exact nature of their functions is not known. The land held by the Fena or free tenants was either a part of the tribe land or was the private property of some flaith or noble from whom they rented it. Everywhere in the literature, especially in the laws, the Fena are spoken of as a most important part of the community, as a foundation of society, and as the ultimate source of law and authority. The very name of what we now call the Brehon Law was derived from then, Féinachas or Féinachas, similar spellings, so that the several parts of the Brehon Code are constantly referred to as Glitha Féine, the laws of the Fena, and the ancient language in which the Féinachas was written is called Béarla Féine, i.e., the language of the Fena. Béarla means English, doesn't it? Another rabbit. No, no, this is not a rabbit hole. Yeah, Béarla is English. But the language in which the Féinachas was written down was called Béarla Féine, the language of the Fena. So Béarla actually literally means language. It doesn't necessarily mean English. Something to do, if you wanted to call it properly English language, you'd call it Béarla Sassenach. Icha Hauna Honadich, somebody said. Who was that? Anna L. Hello, Anna L. Good evening to you. And happy almost Halloween to you. Hope you're having a good time. The Roman Segoius, they basically did mortgages back then too, says Marcus. Yep, English, says Caitlin. Yeah, Béarla. Why Dronehenge is not on Google Maps? I thought it was. Like, it says something like, it's on Google Earth. Somebody has a pin on it saying, yeah, it's on. I'm seeing it here on Google Maps. Newhenge, early Irish Neolithic site. Yeah, it's there, all right. So it is. Béarla is the word used to mean English in modern Irish, but the actual word means speech. There you go. So if we were to correctly refer to the English language in Irish, we would say Béarla Sassenach, would we? It was done as a pseudo insult. We never gave English a proper name as a language. And the way we speak it in Ireland is funny. I've just been to the Danish island of Bornholm and been in several dolmens which were from 3800 BC. One of them with a guy who has published a PhD about the subterraneans. Wow, sounds fascinating. 3800. That's the earliest date of any of our passage tombs, I believe. No, in fact, Carroll Moore is 3700. But our dolmen, portal tombs, we have Pole na Brone, which is 3800 BC. Sun discs, which stem from a supposed sun temple from the same time. So exciting. Sun discs. What are they made from? Ola, the discs. Are they metal? No, they can't be. They're stone? Please explain. I'm interested. That would be rabbit hole number 3. The position of the Calas, the terms in which they held their farms, their rights, duties, and obligations will be explained in some detail in the chapter dealing with land. For the land and the Cala tenants were so intimately mixed up that it would be scarcely possible to treat of them separately. Any freeborn native was called an ora, a term having much the same meaning as the Old English word yeoman. Excuse me. Tradesmen formed. That's what happens when I start late. We'd normally be finished by now, because I thought if I started late, we'd be on time for the Americans, and we're not. I made them wait for 2 hours. Tradesmen formed another very important class of freemen. The greater number belonged to the 4th class, freemen without property. Some crafts were noble or privileged, of which the members enjoyed advantages and privileges beyond those of other trades, and some high-class craftsmen belonging to the class ara or chief. but the law is not near so detailed in its statement of the position and rights of tradesmen as of those of tillers of the soil, showing again the great importance attached to land. And then we come to section 5, which are subdivision 5, as it were, the non-free classes, the lowest in rank of the 5 most important classes, or the 5 main classes, should I say. Newhenge making more sense. Yeah, not everybody calls it Dronehenge, in fairness. So far, we have treated of freemen, that is, those who enjoyed all the rights of the tribe, of which the most important was the right to the use of a portion of the tribe land and commons. We now come to treat of the non-free classes. The term non-free does not necessarily mean servile. The non-free people were those who had not the full rights of the free people of the tribe. They had no claim to any part of the tribe land, though they were permitted, under strict conditions, to till little plots for mere subsistence. Except under very exceptional circumstances, they could not enter into contracts. Yet some justice was done to them. For if a freeman made a forbidden contract with a non-free person, the former was punished, while the non-free man had to be compensated for any loss he incurred by the transaction. Their standing varied, some being absolute slaves, some little removed from slavery, and others far above it. Fascinating stuff. The non-free people were of 3 classes who were distinguished in the law and called by different names. The Bohach, B-O-T-C. Start again, Anthony. B-O-T-H-A-C-H. The Seanclaithe, S-E-N-C-L-E-I-T-H-E. And the Fuir, F-U-D-I-R. The persons belonging to the first 2 were herdsmen, labourers, squatters on wastelands, horseboys, hangers-on, and jobbers of various kinds, all poor and dependent. Wow. I mean, I draw particular attention to squatters on wastelands. So this really does sound like something from Monty Python. Is that literally a thing in medieval Ireland? Somebody who squats on wastelands. I mean, why? You know? But they enjoyed one great advantage. They didn't have to pay tax. Apologies. But they enjoyed one great advantage. They were part of the tribe, though debarred from most of its rights, and consequently they could claim to live within the territory and to support themselves by their labour. The third class were the Fuirs, F-U-D-I-R-S, but I'm presuming the D is lenited. Fuir were the lowest of the 3. They were not members of the tribe and consequently had no right of residence, though they were permitted by the chief to live within the territory, from which, however, they might be expelled at any moment. I mean, has life really ever changed, folks? Has it? You know? Think of the poor people sleeping rough. And this has happened in Ireland, it has happened in Britain, and it's happened in other apparently civilized modern states and cities, where homeless people who have nowhere to go are finding the places that they sleep at night covered in spikes and all sorts of anti-homeless people measures. They might be expelled at any moment. Has life really changed at all in 1,000 or 2,000 years? A Fuir was commonly a stranger, a fugitive from some other territory, who had, by some misdeed or for any other reason, broken with his tribe, who had become kinwrecked, as they expressed it in Wales, and fled from his own chief to another, who permitted him to settle on a portion of the unappropriated commons land. But men became Fuirs in other ways, as we shall see. Any freeman might give evidence against a Fuir, but the Fuir could not give evidence in reply. Wow, they're not even equal in law. Do you know what I mean? Wow. Nothing's changed. I keep quoting the very last line of that Dire Straits song, Iron Hand. We haven't changed since ancient times. Chungus Khan. I've been listening in the background. I've been in the background, not listening. The YouTube app was accidentally minimized. I think some people would say, I mean, if you've been at the Lou Festival of Light, you can hear my voice, but you can't see my face. Everybody's saying it's an improvement. Yes, Monty Python, lol. Yes, indeed. Some are stone slate with suns etched into them. Some made of clay. Okay. Wow, brilliant. Love to see some pictures of those. Maybe you might share those with the Mythical Ireland community on Facebook if you're on Facebook. If not, email me. Love to see some of those. Today's society is better, though, in regards to testimonials in court. Well, I'd like to think we're all a bit more equal. You could call it angel henge, as it was spotted from an angel view, and the guy just Marcus. Thank you, first of all, for the nice compliment. But if you really knew me, you would say, no, definitely not an angel. No way. Definitely not. A fallen one with very crooked wings, maybe, and covered in a bit of uh, uh, dust and soot and all that stuff. When a Fura obtained a settlement from a flaith or lord, he or his family after him might leave during the life of that lord and of his two successors, but could take nothing away. But if he or they remained on voluntarily till they came under a fourth lord, they were no longer free to leave. They were bound to the soil. Adscripti glebe. That's Latin. And glebe. What's a glebe? Is like land, isn't it? What is the word glebe? You see it in townland names here. A piece of land serving as part of a clergyman's benefice and providing income. There you go. The Fuers were of two classes, a higher and a lower. Oh my God, as if it's not bad enough. They're also divided into two levels, called Ser Fuer or Free Fuer and Dare Fuer or Bond Fuer. The Ser Fuers were so called not because they were freemen, which they were not, but to indicate that they were not under the heavy bondage of the lower class. They were those who were free from crime and who, coming voluntarily into the district, were able to get moderately favourable terms when taking land from the chief. Wow. The Lord was responsible for his Fuers. If a Fuer or any member of his family committed a crime, the Lord had to pay the damage. And on the other hand, if anyone injured a Fuer, the compensation was paid to the Lord. So I'm just saying it now, and it's going to be on record because this you can play this back and watch all those embarrassing things that I've said, all those stupid jokes, and all the times I mispronounced words and made a stupid fool of myself. But this is not me being stupid. This is me saying, OMG. If anybody ever tells me, oh, I'd love to go back to the time of the Brehon Laws, I'd love to go back to medieval Ireland, it was so. No. If anybody suggests that, it was an ideal time and everybody was looked after and all of us, and wasn't it just so lovely? No, it wasn't. If someone injured, so presumably, I mean, that could be like a financial injury, but that could be, I presume, a physical injury. Like if somebody boxed a Fuhrer in the head, the poor Fuhrer having probably done nothing to provoke it, the compensation was paid to the Lord, not to the person who was injured. Wow. Not so much good. Some of the Sayre Fuhr tenants who accumulated wealth were much better circumstanced. I thought that said something else for a minute. Can anybody guess what I thought it said? Were much better circumstanced than the general body. If there were 5 of them under one chief, each possessing at least 100 head of cattle, they might enter into partnership so as to answer for each other's liabilities. That sounds like an early cooperative, doesn't it? In this case, they enjoyed privileges that put them almost on a level with the Caelis or free tenants. Almost. They had a share in the tribe land and in the commons. They took stock from the chief and paid beated or food rent. They paid their part in any fines that fell on the sept from the crimes of individuals. They took their share of any property left to the finne or sept, like the ordinary tenants. And their chief or representative man was qualified to be of the rank of Boara. but these must have been rare exceptions. Wow. Ah, the times of the Brehon Laws, says Chungus. Yeah. Wasn't it just wonderful? You know? No. There's two legal texts that specifically deal with bodily injury and illness. I suspect we're going to get to that, Caitlin, because we are going to. I'm not sure if we'll get to it today, but we are. The next chapter is about the Brehon Laws. So, yeah. Okay, it's not a massive section. It's probably at least 2 or 3 episodes, but could be more. Maybe 3 or 4 episodes. But yeah, interesting, isn't it? At least the monastic art was amazing. And at least they carved it onto big crosses that sort of, pardon me, had a chance of surviving. Excuse me. Full Irish Gary's in the house. Wishing us all a happy Samhain. Good man yourself. Yeah, great thing to do at Samhain, by the way. Remember those who have passed. In their time, probably not bad. At least we had laws. That is true, Brendan. I mean, that is true. It's structured. They've got quote unquote law and order, and it seems to have been dutifully fulfilled. But yeah, just don't like the idea of somebody getting a box in the head and the compensation being paid to their lord instead of themselves. Wow. The Darefooers, the lowest and most dependent of all, were escaped criminals, captives taken in battle or raids from other districts or other countries, convicts respited from death, persons sentenced to fine and unable to pay, purchased slaves, etc. So, the lowest of all could be escaped criminals, right? In which case you'd nearly say they deserve to be down at the bottom rung of society. But they could also be captives taken in battle or raids from other districts. Where's the justice? I ask you. Somebody has just posted a very long comment that I will not have time to read. That is Ivania Lee Langford, who went to Ulster, surely indicates kinship with this family. Have traced as far back as I can go with the family name Langford. Found there was an altar tomb to Robert Langford, who died 1614, churchyard of Claris, Cornwall, with a 10th century cross head set upon the pillar. Made a tumor. Wow. Well, good luck getting to the bottom of that, to the roots of that tree, as it were. That looks fascinating. Would the Lord have to support the injured person, and that's why the Lord got the money? Well, it says that the Lord was responsible for his fooers. But it sounds like responsible as in responsible for keeping law and order on them, Peter is in the house. Senior bond holders. They accelerated Ireland's development. Where was I? Yet their lot was not hopeless. The law favoured their emancipation. A Darefooer could become a Sarefooer in course of time under certain conditions. The settlement of Fooers was disliked. I still just, sorry, so I'm stopping here and I'm just making the point that this is a class society. It's very layered. What's it called? There are lots of strata. It is stratified. And just like the steerage in the Titanic, what are the chances that the Darefooer will ever rise anyway significantly in life? Especially, for instance, if they're an escaped criminal, even if they are contrite about their crime and have turned away from crime. Persons who were fined and were unable to pay. I mean, that just sounds like poor people. Let's just punish poor people by keeping them right down at the very bottom. Anyway, I'm just making some counter arguments here to anybody who might say, "Oh, the Brehon Laws, oh, they were the days. Everybody would love to go back to Ireland when the Brehon Laws were in place. Everybody was treated so well. It was so fair and such a free and emancipated society." No, it wasn't. I have a translation of a legal commentary that was used to train lawyers. It's about false judgments and is actually pretty amusing. I'll send it along. Yeah, brilliant. I'm not sure. Look at. Yeah, I know, Kate. I'm really sorry. I feel so bad. I just get bombarded with stuff, and it's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help, but oh, there's only one of me, and I'd love if there were more hours in the day and more days in the week and more months in the year. Jill Marie wants to know: are there any portals between New Zealand and Ireland and Scotland? What kind of portals? Jill, and welcome to the stream, by the way. Doing your Python, yes, I am, Rex. Was it that obvious? Yeah. Oh, the Brehon Laws, they were the days. Oh, I'd love to go back to medieval Ireland when I was just a darefooer, and I had every chance under my lord of becoming a sarefooer. ah. The settlement of Foors was disliked by the community and discouraged by the Brehon Law. In other words, they were kept itinerant, as it were. They were kept homeless. They were kept at the bottom. For it curtailed the commons land, and while it tended to lower the status of the tribe, it raised the power of the chief, who, in cases of dispute, could bring all his Foors into the field. Any social disturbance, such as rebellion, invasion, civil war, etc., in which many were driven from their homes and beggared, tended to increase the number of the Foors. Well, of course, yeah. If they're driven from your home, that's what happens. The terms on which the Foors were permitted to till the soil, will be told in chapter 7, section 4. It has been said that some of the lowest of the Foors were downright slaves. That slavery, pure and simple, existed in Ireland in early times, we know from the law books as well as from history. And that it continued to a relatively late period is proved by the testimony of Giraldus Cambrensis. I'm not sure anything Cambrensis wrote could be taken as evidence, but anyway, who relates that it was a common custom among the English to sell their children and other relatives to the Irish for slaves, Bristol being the great mart for the trade. They must have been very numerous in the 12th century, for at the synod held in Armagh in 1171, the clergy came to the conclusion that the Anglo-Norman invasion was a curse from heaven as a punishment for the inhuman traffic in slaves. Sorry, I was so distracted when I read that. It didn't sink in, and now it's sinking in, and I'm like, wow, that is huge. So let me read that again. They must have been very numerous in the 12th century, as in slaves. And am I right in saying it was a custom among the English to sell their children and other relatives to the Irish for slaves? The English sold their children as slaves to the Irish. By God, this is ridiculous. Right, this is just crazy. So Bristol was the major mart for the trade. They must have been very numerous, as in slaves, in the 12th century. For at the synod held in Armagh in 1171, the clergy came to the conclusion that the Anglo-Norman invasion was a curse from heaven as a punishment for the inhuman traffic in slaves. And they anathematized the whole system as, quote, contrary to the right of Christian freedom, and decreed that all English slaves were free to return to their own country. Wow. Now, look, I get it, right? I don't for a second like the fact that the Christian church for centuries, the Christian clergy, have been obsessed with millennialism and eschatology and this idea of humans being punished, that, if something happened to you or your society or your country, that was God punishing you for some reason. Because people, the Christian right, are still using that today. They're still saying, oh, well, the reason you have that happening is because, you've voted for gay marriage or blah, 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 all that rubbish. So the clergy in Ireland believed that the number of English slaves flooding Ireland, to use a term that's often used about migrants, the poor things, flooding, when the English slaves are flooding into Ireland, that this was a curse from heaven as a punishment. Sorry, that the Anglo-Norman invasion was a curse from heaven as a punishment for trafficking slaves. Wow. This has to be one of the most profound pages I have read in all 249 episodes. My mind is blown. I was not aware of this. And it definitely, for me, what we've been reading over the past number of pages, particularly in relation to the lowest stratum of society, the non-free classes, what I've been reading convinces me that, yeah, while there was law and there was structure to society, perhaps, yeah, we should certainly not extol the virtues of the Brehon Laws too much, in case we get carried away on a wave of uh, what's that called? Harping back to the past on a wave of I hate when the brain doesn't nostalgia. But some laws are amazing. Like, a layman may drink 6 pints of ale with his dinner, but a monk may drink only 3 pints. So random. Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, it did click eventually. I'd love to be much more fluent like that. Sometimes the words just don't come when they need to. Dublin, I had something about that last time I was in. What's that about? Pre about 980, slavery was legal pretty much everywhere. Selling children like laptops back then. Imagine selling your own children as slaves. Jesus Christ. Sorry, but I was wrong. Anyway, John, please, might have said on the faulty road yet. I'm sure it's forbidden under the Brehon Laws. At least we've not gone down the faulty road yet. Give it time. Give it time. They didn't believe in the rights of criminals. Yes, they were the days. Sarcasm, I hope. It's more like help, help. I'm being oppressed. Anyway, I better drag myself out of this solemn state. Considering the period and the ideas then prevalent all over the world, this resolution reflects much credit on the Irish ecclesiastical authorities, anticipating by many centuries the action of the various European and American states in decreeing the emancipation of slaves. How far the Irish decree took effect, we are not told. Our own records show that slaves were imported. Thus, the Book of Rights states that the King of Ireland paid to the King of Brewery, as part of his Torastal, 10 foreign slaves without Gaelic, i.e. not able to speak it says Gaelic language, the Irish language. Is that true? A similar entry is found, of course, we know St. Patrick was a slave, but he was taken here by Niall of the Nine Hostages, wasn't he? A similar entry is found at page 181, and in several other parts of the same book, we find mention of dues paid in bondsmen and bondswomen, quote, brought over the sea, unquote. But whether from other countries besides Britain is doubtful. Some canons of the ancient Irish Church, much earlier than the time of the Armagh Synod, notice the redemption of slaves. It appears from a passage in Adamnan, as well as from other authorities, that a man whom another ransomed from the penalty of death was to be the ransomer's slave. And a slave thus ransomed had to wear a special girdle. Wow. But persons might become slaves in many other ways. When a pregnant bondswoman was sold, the unborn child was commonly exempted, i.e., while the woman became the property of the purchaser, the child, when born, belonged to the seller. The usual word for a slave was mog, M-O-G, or moi, M-O-G-H, or mug. Yeah, people were mugs. Yeah. And just in relation to, yeah, I'm not really saying that I mean, especially with, I suppose it depends on the crime, doesn't it? We always have to be careful as a society not to unduly punish the people who we call criminals. I mean, a lot of people around the world in Western society, in particular, are addicts. They're not. They're they, they didn't mean to become petty criminals, And I'm not saying that we should go easy on them. I'm just saying that it's just so easy, isn't it? It's a human thing, isn't it? It's like someone does something bad, and we say, "Yeah, they're marked for life." And they can never be a part of normal society. Well, yes, if they murdered loads of people, or they raped loads of people, or if they committed very serious crimes, of course. But if they robbed some clothes from the clothes shop to feed their poor, or to clothe their poor family, and robbed some money to pay some bills, I mean, that's different, isn't it, folks? Anyway, let's not go there. In the future, they will also look at us, back at us in bewilderment, why we did allow career criminals out on bail, etc. What I can't, that's, look, yeah, agreed. We're not arguing. I'm talking about the lowest, not the lowest as in the worst. I mean the lowest in society, who are not able to defend themselves, who are not able to afford lawyers, who have committed petty crimes, and who, for some reason, are cursed then by society. Anyway, we are going to. So I've gone on so long and gone down so many rabbit holes that I've 2 pages left of this chapter, and I propose that we leave it there and that we start fresh next week with the Brehon Laws. I think that would be a better way to do things. And apologies, I did. I think I got a little bit annoyed there, didn't I? Yeah, so it's certainly opened up my eyes a little bit to the whole discussion about the Brehon Laws. Yes, there's a structure, and yes, there are laws and all of the rest. Great, but there is an extremely stratified society, and in an extremely stratified society, some people get well looked after and are very privileged, and some people don't, and get pissed upon basically by society. And in some cases, things haven't changed a lot. There's one about someone. There's some nice examples, says Caitlin, keeping the mood positive. There's one about how someone with what we would know as Down syndrome can't be charged as a full criminal. There's also provisions for mercy for petty crimes done out of necessity. Just what I was talking about. Yes, great. Glad to see that. You should do a sit down with Kevin Flanagan. I do not know who Kevin Flanagan is, Gary. Perhaps you might need to explain that one. Rabbit. Warrens too have structure. Yes, they're stratified. They begin at the top and they go right down to the bottom. Oh, he knows Brehon Laws. Okay. Kevin Flanagan. Is he a scholar or a researcher, independent, or what is he? Groups of society. The people were formed into groups of various sizes from the family upwards. The family was the group consisting of the living parents and all their descendants. The sept was a larger group descended from common parents long since dead. But this is an imported word brought into use in comparatively late times. I always suspected that word sept was not an originally Irish word. Brehon Law Academy. Oh, right, okay. I see that on Facebook regularly. Until the fur gets in. All the members of a sept were nearly related and in later times bore the same surname. The clan or house was still larger. Clan means children, and the word therefore implied descent from one ancestor. The tribe or tua was made up of several septs, clans, or houses, and usually claimed, like the subordinate groups, to be descended from a common ancestor. The adoption of strangers into the family or clan was common. Hence the reason I call you the Tua. But it required the consent of the Finna or circle of near relations, formally given at a court meeting. And the persons adopted had not the full rights of ordinary freemen members, especially as regarded land. An adopted person was called Mac Feosma, literally son of protection. Mac Faosma, Feosma, son of protection. Sometimes not only individuals, but smaller tribes who, for any reason, had migrated from their original home were adopted, who were then known as Finna Takur, i.e., a family taken under protection. From all this, it will be seen that in every tribe there was much admixture, and the theory of common descent became a fiction, except for the leading families who preserved their descent pure and kept a careful record of their genealogy. Yeah. Modern royals. Thus, a tribe became a mere local association of people, occupying a definite district and bound together by common customs, by common interests, by living under one ruler, and in some degree by the fiction of descent from one common ancestor. So that's the Tua. And just in case you're under any misapprehension or illusion, I am not claiming to be your ruler, merely some sort of a guide or misguide. Yes, well, we followed the live streams. We were misguided by Anthony for several years. Each member had to bear his part of the obligations and liabilities of the tribe. For instance, he had to contribute to the support of old people who had no children to take care of them. Wonderful stuff. And the whole sept or finna were liable for the fines or debts of any individuals who absconded or were unable to pay. No individual was free to enter into any contracts affecting the tribe. For example, he was restricted by certain conditions when he wished to sell his land. The word finna is loosely applied to almost any subdivision of society, from the tribe in its largest sense down to a small group consisting of members of the same family. In its most usual application, it meant a group of persons related by blood within certain recognized degrees of consanguinity, like the word, common blood, all residing in the same neighborhood. The members of a finna in this sense had certain rights in common and were subject to certain liabilities, all according to well-established customs. When the tribal community comprised a large population occupying an extensive district, it often got the designation Kinel, C-I-N-E-L, still implying, like clan, descent from a common ancestor. So we have the Kinel Onacht and the Kinel Conal, for instance. Thus, the Kinel Owen, Anthony, just read it and stop talking. The Kinel Owen, who possessed the principality of Tir Owen and were supposed to be descended from Owen, son of Niall of the Nine Hostages, were ruled by one of the O'Neills and included the septs of O'Cahan, McQuillan, O'Flynn, and many others, each governed by a flaith or chief who was tributary to O'Neill. The tribe organisation was not peculiar to Ireland. It existed among all the Aryan nations in their early stages. And of course, just to reiterate, when we hear the word Aryan, we don't think of white-skinned, Teutonic descended races. We're not thinking Nazism here. We are talking about Aryan nations as in belonging to that Indo-European family. So that ends the whole section dealing with the structure of society. And the next chapter will be the Brehon Laws. Now, I'm just going to have a quick look, just to give us an idea. I'm going to return to comments and discussion now in a moment. Folks, please do bear with me for a moment. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5, 6, 7, 28, 9, 30. Administration of Justice, 31, 32, 33. Oh, yeah. So that's about 50 pages. That could be 4 or 5 episodes. It's at least 4, possibly 5. Proto-Indo-European pie. Pie in the sky. Now, let me just go back here now. Catch up. I just Googled, if Vikings had slaves, slaves were their main trading goods. We weren't the only ones doing it. Ivania says, my nana had twins. One was with Down syndrome and one without. Identical twin boys. That's extraordinary stuff. Yeah. Given that society, says Sotonar, existed in some form or another in a continuum over almost 4,000 years or so, it would be a shock if there was nothing to criticize about it. Yeah. There's no such thing as a perfect society, really. And you know what comes into it, really, is the fact that everything sounds great until you put humans in charge, you know? You know? Yeah. I met an Irish ferreter here in New Zealand. Been here a while. It was a surprise. Both rabbits and ferrets are introduced pests. Casper says, but it worked similarly to today's adoption, that you have to take care of someone, or rather like an adopted form of a slave in the family. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I think to be a fella, Caitlin, you have to memorize a lot. That's the problem. I don't retain it as well as I should. The standard of your jokes, Anto, blemishes you from becoming a re. There, now at last we have some sensible talk. You know? Speaking of which, I was on the golf course with my mate the other day and we were playing golf. And when we got to the third tee, he said, let's make this interesting. So we stopped playing golf. And there's more. Come here. There's more. How much cows are you worth, Anthony? What level of fill are you? I have no idea. So long as I can get good, decent milk and cream and cheese and chocolate out. Chocolate, I know. Chocolate from a cow. We have to get cocoa for that. You know, and then at the end of the thing, some nice steaks, you know? Yeah. Anyway, I made my wife's wishes come true when we got married in a castle. Did you know we got married in a castle? Although she didn't look very appreciative. You wouldn't think of she was all that happy when you looked at her face while we were bouncing around. Fostering was also common of a relative, as the Maori in New Zealand did. And fostering is a big theme in mythology too. The fostering of Angus and all of that. My starry-eyed idea of the Brehon Laws might be mangled next week, Brendan. I think that's exactly what's happening here. It's just, yes, it had its ups, it had its positives and its negatives. And then you decide, was it better or was it still good, or was it, you know? Anyway. Yes, although I do think that phrase is a bit unwieldy and outdated. That Proto-Indo-European. Pi, Indo-Iranic, Aryan, same. You should write an ancient Ireland sitcom for RT. Yeah, we should do something sort of. Let's not totally rip off Monty Python, because people just say, "Oh, they're trying to be modern Monty Python," you know. Galley slavery was rampant everywhere throughout history and is perhaps the worst form of that most reprehensible practice. Yeah. Great episode, Anne. I'm glad I could stay for it. Heading out now for dance class. Well, I hope you thoroughly enjoy that, Anne. You enjoy the rest of your day. And dance. What type of dance, by the way? Thanks for another great episode, says Elaine. Time flew by. Well, I'm glad, because, I mean, the opposite would be if you were looking at your watch going, oh, geez, I wish this fella would shut up. Thank you, Adrian. Gurla Mahagut Macharja. Mahara. The new Father Ted in Mythical Times. Is it a class 3 relic, is the question. Yes. Another great night. Wayne, thank you very much for joining us. Glad you enjoyed it. Fostering was the standard practice. The words for daddy and mommy in Old Irish are actually for the godparents. There you go. You probably, as a child, if you go back a certain amount of time, as a child, you're probably much more likely to be with people who weren't directly related to you, you know. Pies are for the eating, says Michael. Correct. What language do you speak? Pie. Yeah, steak and kidney pie. Brehon Laws favoured restoration over reciprocation. Irish set dancing. Brilliant stuff, Anne. Well, good luck with that. I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you, Adrian, and don't get too spooked tomorrow. Hope you bite plenty of apples. Hope you get plenty of monkey nuts in your bag. Or is it only me? When we were kids, that's what a lot of people handed out at the doors was monkey nuts. I hated them. Yeah, it was useful and accurate, and the info we have about 200 years back. But more recent intel shows that the spread of that interconnected people group is much more complex and older than we thought. Yeah, well, genetics, of course, revealing so much. Michael Sheehan has been watching. I didn't see you there, Michael. How are things? Hope you're in good form. Debbie Sheehy, thank you, Debbie. Glad you enjoyed it. Of course, foster brothers and fathers are everywhere in Ireland mythology. I love it. I think it would be useful to take a close look at why they always played such important roles. Great fun, says Tom. Take care out there. Boyne Valley sends many blessings until the next. It's raining here now, but it wasn't raining during the Lou Festival. And of course, if you're watching, thank you, Joe. If you're watching, or if you're following the Facebook in particular, you'll have seen lots of photographs and live streams and videos from Lou Festival of Light, which is taking place here in Drogheda, my hometown. Delighted to be involved in that project. Tonight was night 4 of 8. Tomorrow's the 5th, and then there's 3 more. There's a break for a night, and then 3 more. Saoirse, I have a cunning plan. Mythical Ireland Black Viper instead of Blackadder. Oh, yes. Now, I'm a big fan of Blackadder. And of course, you may know that I met one of my all-time great heroes, Tony Robinson, Blackadder. Not Blackadder, Baldric, in fact. And what a pleasure. So glad I caught you again. Now, I'll be up all night wondering if my ancient roots were in those downtrodden classes. Good night. These things tend to carry on for generations, don't they? You know? Fostering was standard practice. There were so many small kingdoms. It strengthened ties and encouraged peace. Yes, indeed. Mounted the hostages and all that. Hostages, not so much. Fosterlings, yes. Looking forward to next week, says Brendan. Thanks, Anthony and friends around the world. Yes, indeed. Don't forget to get your calendars. And please do consider becoming a patron. Folks, it's been a pleasure. Join us again next week. Next week, we'll revert to the usual time, which is 8 p.m. Irish time, and 5 hours behind that for the East Coast, and 8 hours behind that for the Pacific Coast, for our American and Canadian, and even for our South Americans. Some of you, of course, will be several hours behind. So next week should be the normal time difference, because we'll all have fallen back, as it were. We'll all have put our clocks back. Thank you very much, Northman. Seeing you before the next. See you. Wink. Yes, Northman. Rex is saying, thanks, Anthony. Thank you very much, August Tufain, and to everybody who's saying good night. And thanks for the TT. And Casper is saying, see you soon. All that remains for me to say now is Ikawa Kulasov, Slán Gafol, and of course, the most important one, Tog Bugé, which means take it easy. See you next.